Cycling in London is slowly becoming the new driving. Commuters are being encouraged to use Transport for London cycle hire scheme or their own bikes for their daily commute. But with more cyclists on the road, causes more chances of accidents, and heavy goods vehicles are proving particularly dangerous.
Car drivers in London, not all of them, but they're just fighting for space, and they get so angry if you're cycling in the centre of the road. They can get so aggressive.
What you do? Don't touch my cab, right? Don't touch my frigging cab, right? Don't touch my cab for no reason. I don't business about your damn camera. You don't need to report what you want. Don't you touch my cab.
I do think it's unfair because you've got to share the road, and they have a responsibility to look out for vulnerable road users like cyclists. I don't really know how that could change. There needs to be a sort of change in opinion, and car drivers need to understand that cyclists are vulnerable and we're open to any kind of knock, whereas they're all tucked in this big box of metal, so they need to have more responsibility.
The number of cyclists has risen since 2007 as a popular way of commuting into London. However, a lack of continued investment in safety means other road users are still a significant danger.
There needs to be more cycle routes and more cycle ways for cyclists that are purely for them, and it really is a case of getting the right traffic flow for the cars, but still the safety for the cyclists, because it seems to me that over the years I've been cycling that more and more people want to cycle, not just for leisure but to get to work. So the London authorities need to work hard at it.
Cycling accidents have risen again during 2011, while all other vehicle accidents have been declining. In 2011 alone, 16 cyclists have died on London's roads, and 9 of the fatalities were killed by HGVs. A 35-year-old cyclist was hit and killed by a lorry in central London last month while she was cycling to work. The accident took place at the junction of Palace Street, near Victoria Station, during the peak hours on a Monday morning. The accident prompted Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, to talk about bringing in new measures to make cycling safer. No HGV can enter London unless it's properly compliant with cycle safety equipment, he says, talking about the future of cycling in London.
I feel really sad about that because she's in her 30s and she's just trying to get to work. You just shouldn't have to become a victim just trying to get to work by cycling. And I know this year that I think 2 people have died so far, including her. So the stats have reduced compared to last year, but it's still happening. And the most saddest thing is the pictures of her bike, which are all crushed up, and it's got a basket on, and it's a bike which is like what I cycle. So it just felt really sad personally that that could be me. And I heard that she's an experienced cyclist as well.
The tricky ones are lorries, because the lorries can't see the cyclists. They don't have the mirrors or cameras to be able to see them, particularly on the inside lane. And that's when a number of accidents do happen.
I know that the London's, the LCC are campaigning at the moment to make London safer by reducing lorries, by also putting sensors on lorries so that they can know when cyclists are going up the side. But I think that they need to not be on the roads during commuter times, because those are the times where people are getting run over, cyclists are getting run over by them. So I think they should only be restricted from 10 till 2 p.m. or 10 till 4 p.m. that they could drive in those periods only. There's just so many lorries out there, and they're so scary. And as much as I can hang back and try not to go past them, they'll have to go past me, and it's terrifying. I hate it.
The wind blows up there.
Yeah, exactly.
A ghost bike, or ghost cycle, is a bicycle set up as a roadside memorial in a place where a cyclist has been killed or severely injured. Apart from being a memorial, it is usually intended as a reminder to passing motorists to share the road. Ghost bikes are usually junk bicycles painted white, sometimes with a placard attached, and locked to a suitable object close to the scene of the accident. The ghost bike idea in the United States may have originated with a project by San Francisco artist Joe Slaughter. He was intrigued by the abandoned bicycles that he found around the city. Locked up and stripped of its useful parts, he painted the bikes white as it showed the symbol of death, therefore creating the ghost bikes. This then became famous around the world in memory of people who died whilst on their bicycles. Steps are now being taken into account to try and make London a safer place to cycle, along with new technology on HGVs being the main priority. Cycle awareness training is also being offered to lorry drivers to help them understand what it's like to be a cyclist. This will be beneficial towards better cycling in and around London.
CPC training, the aim of that is to minimise risk in interactions between drivers and cyclists on the road. The way we do that is we get drivers to experience what it's like to be on a bicycle. So initially they're quite antagonistic or negative. We give them an opportunity to say what they think about cyclists, and a lot of them say, oh, red light jumpers, they're all disobeying the law, lycra louts, the usual stuff. Once they get on a bike and they feel what it's like to be on a road with a dodgy surface, maybe with a lorry behind them, the sound of that lorry, they get it, and they understand completely that when they are sharing the road with cyclists, how important it is for them to hang back, pass wide, pass slowly, give cyclists room. And you often turn people around through this 3.5-hour session.
Every day, more people are taking to two wheels and ignore the possible risks of cycling. Some might even say that the positive sides of bike riding are more than the negative ones. Many Londoners cycle because they cannot afford the tube or bus fares, but there is also a great number of people from London and the surrounding towns who cycle around the capital for leisure. Last year, there were announced a further 15 million for better cycle routes and facilities across the country.
Well, I moved to London 2 years ago, and it was because I changed jobs and decided to start cycling because of the tube fares are really high and I just couldn't afford to pay them. Also, I do like cycling as well, so I decided to commit myself to cycling every day to get to work and just not taking public transport, just so that I could save money, really.
I cycle for pleasure, for leisure cycling, and I cycle around London because it's interesting. And you can get around London quite easily off-road, and that's what I do. So you can go from east to west and north to south, and you can get around London. And there has been some improvement over the last 4 years, particularly with the Olympics and a lot of the cycleways along the canals. A lot of the footpaths are now cycleways, so it really has opened up London. And that's part of the reason I come to London. I live in Oxford, so I come from Oxford down here to London to cycle in London because it's interesting. And it's safe to a large extent.
I think that in London it's like a sort of bubble where it feels like a lot of things are happening about cycling, but actually I think if I left London I think I feel quite lonely and there isn't as much of a cycling community. So yeah, I think it needs to be an issue nationwide.
In March 2013, the Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, revealed his plan of making cycling in the capital safer and something everybody could not do without thinking about. An unbroken network of cycle routes with Dutch-style segregated lanes has been pledged as a part of a £930 million 10-year plan to make London safer for cyclists overall. Johnson and his team claim cycling forever more treated as an integral element of London's transport planning. With a spend of £18 per person per year on cycling, as against somewhat around £1 nationally, the promise is that cycling levels will double by 2020.